Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. All sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in the glorious kind Lama Vajradhara, the embodiment of the body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities of the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times, source of the 84,000 categories of the teaching, and Lord of the Sanghas. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the idams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom.
Lama Tamba Namla Jose Je Yadai Jingore Alato Namla Jose Je Sanje Jungde De Namla Jose Je Adambe Jo Namla Jose Je Babe Gendu Namla Jose Je Wawo Kanto Zhejiang Songme Zo Ye Je Jianda Nianbai Namla Jose Je
Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path.
Oi, Jiangjiu, Ningbo, Jie, Wei, Sangye, Donglai, Jiaozi, Jie, Anju, Dai, Jiangjiu, Senpai, Ye, Solai, Tijie, Jiaozi, Jie, Jie, Da, Ngo, Jie, Dai, Jie, Jie, Jiangjiu, Doni, Jie, Ba, Dang, Jiangjiu Senbei Lao Ba Lao Te Da Reng Xin Ne Ba Da Di Yin Do La Pian Dong De Jiangjiu Senbei Jie Jie Xin Antijen ne la ba la zamba kende la ba je.
In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings.
Sanje chodan sojen chonan la achanjon parade dane japsen chen dage jen so jinbe sonam jen dola benje sanje aisho.
May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Nam ga dai nyam de sem je tam je de wa dai de ve je dan de ba jo je dong ara dong ara ge je da je wa jo je Edongara me be wa dong me be wa ju je enyere cha dai ni dai de ve gong yong la ni ba ju je.
Refuge of all sentient beings without exception, divine subjugator of terrifying Maras together with their hosts of demons, the one who understands all realities without exception exactly as they are, transcend and conquer together with your disciples, please come here to this place.
Benzer Samanza, Benzer Samanza, Benzer Samanza, Male Semje, Genje, Gonjore, Endo de Abonje, Neze, Jumje, Lai, Ngona, Male, Jiyen, Jenjor, Jumde Gurje Ninde Yeso So Marga Pade Gube Dube Alo Gen Gende Nive Ado Marde Zazo.
The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the four continents, and the sun and moon. As a Buddha field, I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha fields. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostrations, offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate.
Saje boje joje medo dang are ra leje nyende jemba de sanje jela mede pwa ye endo ge nam da shen de ju ba sho. Changze wadai chuje yobadang Ajeze yeran gyujen sowa ye Egewa chungze dake je soba Atam je sobe chancho chenpo.
Namo, to the Lama of utterly pure appearance and existence, I offer the fundamental ground of appearance and existence. I supplicate you to thoroughly liberate the three realms. Please grant your blessings and overturn the depths of samsara. Sublime Master, wish-fulfilling jewel, crown ornament, the inconceivable, inexpressible mind of the victorious ones, the one endowed with the five wisdoms of omniscience, gracious one, the embodiment of love. Precious protector of beings, I supplicate you from within the essence of mind. Please grant your blessings from within the innate nature. Please bless me that I may realize the Dharmakaya that is beyond intellect, this primordially unborn, completely pure mind. Transcend and conquer the one thus gone, foe destroyer of afflictive emotions, completely perfected Buddha, endowed with logic and virtue, the one gone to bliss, knower of the world, captain, tamer of beings, the unexcelled teacher of gods and men, I respectfully prostrate, completely touching my head to the stainless feet of the unequaled Shakya king. At the time of your birth, leader of two-legged beings, taking 7 steps on this great earth, you proclaimed, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, even then, I prostrate. Possessing a body of complete purity, your sublime form is excellent. An ocean of primordial wisdom, you are like a golden mountain. The one whose renown is evident throughout the 3 worlds, protector of supreme attainment, to you I prostrate. To you who are endowed with the supreme marks, whose face is like an immaculate moon, to you, the one with a complexion like gold, I prostrate. A flawless one such as you, among the 3 levels of existence, is most exquisite. Unparalleled, omniscient one, to you I prostrate. Supreme among humans, captain of those to be tamed, the one thus gone who severs the all-binding fetters, who, with senses pacified, is utterly pacified and skilled in peace. To that one, the one who dwelled at Shravasti, I prostrate. Refuge endowed with great compassion, totally omniscient one who indicates the way, ground basis for oceans of merit and qualities, I prostrate to the one thus gone. The pure cause, free from attachments, the virtue that liberates from the lower realms, the altogether supreme ultimate truth, to the pacifying Dharma I prostrate. Having been liberated, they also reveal the path to liberation. Thoroughly respectful of the 3 higher trainings, they are a field of sublime qualities. To the Sangha I also prostrate.
Namo Nase Namdai Ge Lama Lai Nase Yen Se Joban Bu Kamsa Yonjore De Sorwa De Korwa Tongchoi Se Chenje Lo Aje Ye Norwe Toge Je Ma San Jome Jarve To
Gembe yeshe ngadang
Tebe danye gade jen dowa jumze shenpo
je
dosim nye je ngane sowa de
chuni
je ngande chen je lo samdo ne je me namda de londe chugu dobar chen je lo jon den de jen je ba Ara jomba yanda bara zobe sanje riba dan Shabzun denba devara yiba jiden jenba jiben duva kalo jurva Alana me ba la da me namje domba nyami Isha ji jarbo isha ji du jima me ba la Ango wa ra de do de gu e chan za lu Kan ze gan ye zo wo ju dan ze sa jian de la gong ba de wa ne Nga ne je dan de nan jo je zon de 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 ba je la chan za lu Namda gung cho de su zang wai yi jie jian zuo se jie lun bu zha an tao ba ji de som na la nge wa gong bo chong jin ji la chang te lo an chen jo den ba din mian de wei xie san dong zhao wa ji la chang te lo a de de jiu de zi bai song nan zi nian mian qian qian ji la chang te lo ande wa ka lo jun de jian gun jiu ren qian wa jun de di yin ni a hong bo xie dai ni ye xie lan ge nian you xiu ba de lai chang te lo Hong Kong boy, do jie jie dan boy, dam jie jian bie dong ba bo, la song na yang dian jiang zu xian, di yin ye la jiang te lo, ha bie do jia ji wei ji, ge wei ge song le zhe xian. 这个东南角角外，斜角出来江在路，我穿的这月朗阳东，老爸到来了的个，天个当把阳灯节，点对老阳江在路。
I prostrate to the youthful Manjushri, to those in the worlds of the 10 directions, however many there are, all the lions among humans who appear during the 3 times, to all of them without exception, I pay homage with respectful body, speech, and mind. The force of my aspiration prayer for excellent conduct brings all the victorious ones directly to mind. Bowing down with bodies as numerous as atoms in the realms, I prostrate to all the victorious ones. In a single atom, there are Buddhas as numerous as atoms, each residing in the midst of their sons and daughters. Like that, I imagine the whole Dharmadhatu completely filled with victorious ones. To those with oceans of inexhaustible praiseworthy qualities, with sounds containing oceans of tones of melodic speech, I express the qualities of all the victorious ones. I praise all the Sugatas with the finest flowers, the finest garlands, music, ointments, supreme parasols, supreme lamps, and the finest incense, I make offerings to the victorious ones. With the finest cloths, supreme scents, and fine powders equal to Mount Meru, all displayed in supreme and magnificent ways, I make offerings to those victorious ones. With vast and unsurpassable offerings, I venerate all the victorious ones. Through the power of faith and excellent conduct, I prostrate and offer to the victorious ones. Whatever negative actions I have performed with body, speech, and also mind, overpowered by desire, aggression, and stupidity, I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in everyone's merit, the victorious ones of the 10 directions, the bodhisattvas, the pratyeka buddhas, those in training, those beyond training, and all beings. I request the protectors, the lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who, passing through the stages of awakening, attain Buddhahood beyond attachment, to turn the unsurpassable Dharma wheel. I supplicate with my palms joined together those who intend to demonstrate nirvana, to remain for kalpas as numerous as atoms in the realms, for the welfare and happiness of all beings. I dedicate whatever slight virtue is accumulated through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and supplicating to enlightenment. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the 2 vehicles and their combination according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
我三界能界三宝当，阿罗耶揭谛揭谛我揭谛图摩帝巴耶，诸界波罗波罗僧。 du jie xiang jie le song zhong xian jie me do du jie bong jiang bo si jie long bao da wu le jie wei xia jie jiao bei xiao la ku jiao zi tu me wu zi tao jie jing gu de ma de xie jie wo bu jie da wa tang jie se gua gun jian chu jie jie nian mian de wu ren jian gu jiao zi 我灭求见眼界波长的，对龙三界跟见我念，让什么就跟我什么当这边，这边那灭小了个家，这看到就这当天就在那，我这里我们就我刚说的。听得东北就见叫人别把，人不能多他们见的也些，那么的呀，他也给当了几。长大大灭给他们呢，多跟着的给这种吧，他们给的当给就的。Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ini
Morning.
tak ngacu jetang tanda ngacu dagdang ma di tak dagla dang archibi da sidi tak jetang main tela kala uyore sena ngacu tak dagdang ma la uyore tini tak ngacu kala uyore la wina tanda proyek dang inchi ni ma nyam tu lo de ya tela dagdang ma la uyore tini di hiwla ngacu tak ya kuburwa tini yana dimbas what logo is that ngaco kadu ti chuit becha ti bin re taga na yiki ji karse gore da nyamne chi du na re da zo pa zo karchi bina te tene lo de yores
Um, so these opening prayers that we've just recited, we refer to them, the whole sequence of that recitation as the Dagdangma. So it's that's the first words of the opening prayer. The first prayer is Dagla Dangmar Chepe Dra. So the Dag and then Dangma is kind of the short word for that's that first prayer, but then actually it's referring to the whole sequence, the whole recitation, which includes, refuge, the four immeasurables, the seven branches. And so, but this is what we recite at the beginning of every every teaching. Also, it's generally also recited at the beginning of your own practice. Mhm.
我听的呢，我他提拿了，就当当嘛是来我猜的，我当嘛来我的嘛，我那机会呢，他提拿了，听呢，协调忙不就用为我的意思。
So there we refer to it as the Dagdangma, which is the shortened, and Dagdangma means, so Dag is myself and Dangma is those enemies who hate me. So it's referring to that prayer. But then within all the recitation, there's, everything is complete. There's a lot of different aspects that are there.
那边了解下面呢，maybe we can, I don't know, do we got the prayer book?
To screen share the prayer book? We can do that.
That first session there was all mother singing being see karcha the yorisena, that got so, tini, bomba chancho sems, that pijama chicken the higore, got mumba chancho sem, and juba chancho sem, yorwa, or tini, and that the first session tella, tini, mumbo.
So this first prayer, all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me. So this is the aspiration bodhicitta. So as you probably know, there are the two types of relative bodhicitta. There's aspiration bodhicitta and application bodhicitta or action bodhicitta, which is what is contained within the next prayer.
我在听的，今天天气都是呀，你多我在听了，今天我知道，特别是啊，听不记得。
And so then, thus, until I achieve enlightenment, etc., I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. This is the action bodhicitta or application bodhicitta.
今天他提修的了，我在他马拉我了，今天他听的，我知道的，他你看去那一，我就看对那东北了哇，东北呀，今天他今天全部修就有了，今天的开始呢，他我就就长久生解呀。다 티 창조성 깨나 상지 코마 토바다 창조성 맞지나 상지 코마 투구요 말와 티인도 티니 창조성 깨야세요 티 고레라고요 말와 티인도 티니 투송국으로 와 티니 인도 맞다 다다디 어떡하라고 좀 센티 티차디오레스
So we always recite these two, and they're very important. And the reason for this is because we need to constantly make an effort to generate bodhicitta. If we don't generate bodhicitta, then the causes or the seeds for awakening are not there, because it's bodhicitta that really is the direct, cause or that which leads to attaining the state of Buddhahood.
我在听的，他听呀，听呢，但我做吉他，唐伯强巴谁呀，宁杰谁呀，个他让杰是的有的是，一年样，他长久谁呀的话，就，对我做就有嘛的是，变到恰下边呢，我做宁杰有的，变到让个不到我当。tene rang ka relative da wo dang friend ning ge yo de tene zawa yo de yin yang ko ta ne ga tu sa di kar cha de yor se na nga zo ma ga sa ji dang ta nga zo ji dang da wo ji la nga zo tene ji ning ji je to gu yo ma de tene zawa je to gu yo ma de wo da tin de jang go ko ta nga zo te ma jang na tene chang jo se je ya yo ma wa 테니테 담보테 가서다 가서 장조선지 고구요나 얘네 마가와서 왔다 로지에 그러와 다들 로지에 고도 갈라고 해서 나라 당월지 비다 슬럽고와 어테니타 진디 계지 나 당위 기유로와 마간게 유직라 되는 가서 직 참바 제토비알라서 니지 제토비알라서나 된다 되거래스
And so we have these qualities that are related to bodhicitta, kind of naturally. We have love, we have compassion, but we don't, bodhicitta is not something that comes naturally. It's something that has to be cultivated, intentionally cultivated in the mind stream. Love and compassion arise naturally. They're usually biased in nature. We have love and compassion for our friends, for our relatives, our loved ones, our children. But these emotions don't arise so naturally for those people that we don't like or our enemies. So we don't have the love and compassion so easily for our enemies. In fact, often we can't manage to generate compassion or love for them. So for this reason, we have to train. So it's a process of training. And as we train, then eventually, and we train directing those qualities of love and compassion towards the difficult people, towards those enemies who hate us, and kind of putting them first. And with the sort of the most emphasis, the greatest emphasis on the need to generate love and compassion for those who are most difficult. And then when we can really have genuine love arise for those individuals, then it is moving closer to bodhicitta.
That thing do that reason 하시는 것도 딱발로 고야지 당 되는 것도 지 윤센터리 스페는 것도 위나다 지 고팅마지 클로네 지 참바다 닝제 지고나 되기로 와 근데 이제 투기메도 되네 양네 되네 로그요레 스테인도 당가서 로비키 되게 배용들라 네 갈래 베네 정말 로도 그 참바다 닝제 라소바 제마토비나 참바다 닝제 라소바드네 랑그 다틀 제마토비나 양다 지고네 지 마음부 휴지 로비나 되네 갈래 지 자로야 지 요레스 텐디 드가 나게 계단 가서 특별 very important 와 그 대용구도 와 아주 축 지남주 해야지 요레스 당가서 텐디 몽보지 로디나 달라도 머지비다 노버 텐디 로로로로 몽보지 로네 인 당가서 당보로 비 야탐보로 비나 히다 지 제발메완로 요레스 이내양 펜토 요레스 텐디 니마지 칼레 샘게 때문에 드는 것을 리젠지 갖고 그랬어.
그네?
리젠과 리젠의 간디리스 라비나 다 해당해야 돼. 그 야보마이 바지로와 다음에 드니 지기 윤지시게 다디야 드니 야보마이 바 디게지 다 셈바텔라 되네 드니 라다 현자라 되니 편도 메와지 로와 라다 현인자게 고 코르반 챔비 준도오지 드니 하고 그랬어. 대하 공비 qabla 드니 가서 지 당위 유들라 드니 참바제야다 니게 빼래라 그랬어. 대마동가 톱스카와지로 저런 베데데 저런 마가와들다 베로파치스 저런 마가와들 님제지스 저런 마가와들다 참바곰랍나 배용이 아요 말와 다디 짐젠 로드다 가서 대야 그 베네가 침부 쇼레스
And so we read it a lot, we read it a lot, probably hundreds of times now already. And, we may think like, oh, why again and again, we always read this. And it's because, if we just read it once and then we could generate bodhicitta and it was just like present, or remaining, then that would be great. But that's not really how it works. We have to make an effort. We have to generate again that mind state again and again. And maybe even after reading it hundreds of times, we still might feel like, yeah, but I still can't really generate
change
love
it all
for my enemy. Like I don't know that I see such a great change from reading this prayer again and again. But actually there is some benefit. And this is very important that there is, even if we are not to the place where we can, have, where we have effortless bodhicitta, or we have great love and compassion for our enemies,
naturally build a blessing build up to what it is
there's the blessing of the Dharma that enters through the recitation, and naturally it builds up over time. And we have some like we come, maybe even it's like a sudden understanding of kind of something falling into place or clicking, where we think, oh, I understand, I get it,
reason
like we understand the reason. And we really feel the impact of the harm of hatred, and anger, and this becomes very clear, when we, and the harm of the emotion of hatred and the fixation to the object of that hatred, that which we perceive, as our enemy, or the person that we perceive as our enemy. And we see that there's no benefit, that there's really harm that comes to both self and other by harboring those emotions of aversion and ill will. And so this is what we see it as the cause, or we come to understand that that it's the cause that keeps us cycling in cyclic existence. Gare hope de gala gare magawagi hopache gare lai.
In hope the color was a jig. Tine ropa daji lo ropa chia under water. Tine kaleka burwa.
So
Ina yang.
to all of a sudden feel, like this real like benevolence, or this feeling like we really want to help, our enemy or whoever it is that's especially hard for us, that might not be so easy. That might not come about very easily. Vinny?
But tine ko the ina yang kar slowly reason burwa. Reason tine that is talks as a bit. Jumsente karsena. ठीक reason de kare lavina tene chik rana peng mewa hena peng mewa chik tene ko hakog res aleta ti to sakog.
But we slowly kind of feel the logic in this, the reason, that the understanding that there isn't benefit in harboring the aversion. There isn't any benefit for ourselves, and there isn't any benefit for anyone else.
Wada tindi indu tene ngozo taji kalse gore chamba senare momba changjab senare jukwa changjab sanje yala tene chik le lawo no chik tene yongui wades.
And then with that understanding, then these two types of relative bodhicitta can arise more easily. The aspiration bodhicitta and the application bodhicitta.
Maybe we hear again in that refuge verse. In that tine jetanda chang so mang che ji ke ha khu yo re stine ta ti hyu la nga zo da ta na ti chi se ya de la yu ba chang job sen wa tine ti hyu de la tine nga zo da jam ro re s o da jam ro jetang nga zo jam ro de da da nga zo jam ro ji se ya refuge practice se ya de la de dong gu yo re s.
So then following the action bodhicitta, so we've been talking about the aspiration bodhicitta, then there's the application bodhicitta, which you all probably understand, and then we have refuge. So then the next section are these prayers of refuge.
Da refuge ha khu ro was nga zo de refuge practice se ya de chi grace.
And so you're all familiar probably with refuge, and many of you are even practicing refuge, the refuge section of your ngundo perhaps, or will come to practice that together as a group.
Da ti hyu la da nga zo ni je tang nga zo pa nyam len chi du tene da pena de tangbo ji chamba mare tene ji gunzo changjob sem mongba changjob sem yuba changjob sem tene changjob sem se ya ji ro ba wa da ti ni te tene changjob ni mo chi hwa se ya cha de yo des.
And then after the refuge, we have, so again, we have the bodhicitta, right? So we have the relative bodhicitta, we have the ultimate bodhicitta, and within relative bodhicitta, we have aspiration and application. And so here, this is like the bodhicitta prayer that embodies both, the Nicaragua.
Marita te chi se ya ji do antet
Right.
wa da changjob sem te pomya tris.
So this is the generation of bodhicitta here, generating bodhicitta until I attain the heart of enlightenment.
Oda tindi res tindi da tanang takpan dong di dinga this remind tini chigi yores.
And so, we recite all of these different prayers of refuge and bodhicitta to remind ourselves again and again.
Okay. Dili da tindu da nga zo pejemena matawa di kazong di sti chewa ka hi la yoro wa de ji lang to ji
Chatsang Jake Manare.
anis cha.
Dine de Chando, Dine Yin Lag Dumba, Tama,
Da
Remember
tsama la
something.
wa samare so.
Okay, so anyway, and it continues going, but we'll finish it here. So we have refuge and then four measurables and yeah.
Wa ni menda la okay, yeah. Wa tindu da nga zo te chi tne da tanda te ro wa da nga zo impermanence te cha di yori tindu tne di da nga zo ka chang di what they call this chiwa gutu siya da nga zo peche samando simbere sina da ni sa jo malo ya ro ta ma da cha cha chin yo res.
So then to pick up with the teachings on impermanence, so we're in the section with the 9 categories, meaning the 3 categories that each have 3 subcategories. So we're on the last of the 3 categories, and we went through the first subcategory, and now we have the second and the third subcategory.
Tindu da thambo da tina la nga zo according to the tax rate de ga na yi da nga ji as much as possible de ko ji and tea or this stuff je te la ga ji la ga shi da mendos.
And so with these reflections, dine pecha gare gare
Dan dina ro wa ta.
re yine yang pe according to the text la do dine text gare imba la go gre wa dama ke shalom re.
Mare mata the 9 round tax teaching wa.
So then he has laid out for you, these reflections using these with regard to these 9 categories, and he's really tried to include everything that is mentioned or is covered in within the traditional teachings on these.
Tin da nga zo the last session lo sha na da nga zo ga de hi mo ja bi res ta mix la mo go de mo.
And so we can just read through the last sections. There's been like a lot of explanation, so he doesn't need to go into like a lot. We can just read through. Okay, so the second category, loved ones and relatives cannot accompany you at the time of death. So perhaps these first 2 paragraphs somebody can read, maybe Janelle.
In the way of the Bodhisattva, it says, when the time of death comes, your children won't be able to protect you, nor will your mother or father or any of your loved ones or relatives. When the moment of death arrives, we will have to confront it alone. Nothing and no one will be able to accompany us. Everyone is in the same position at the time of death. Whether you are a king seated on a golden throne or a beggar, death recognizes no distinctions. The most powerful presidents, surrounded by their armies and advisors, will find these worldly defenses utterly powerless. Even the most exalted lamas and renowned spiritual teachers with many followers will have to confront the passage of death unaccompanied.
Thank you. Any Shimba or Pare?
Da ti li da te lo na di ina ya da ti ro wa. Da cha min chen ge sta je nga zo ji kan di kina la da za che hyo ro ji yo ro wa ba na pa ma tam bu ko ro wa te ga na yi ji da cho ga da je me ten di ke ji je le be ma si bi ke ji za wa ta te ga na yi ke 로바트니 책이 요래스 인비 이나야 지 지텐디키나라 강에 가르치고나 로바 책이스 로와 지금 조선 땅고는 땅 로바 치고는 치기레스 인비나 양 이네 시외니 몰라 드네 다 가르메고 가리 저와 가르메고 가리 그로바 아직 지성고나 지토구메와 이 지토구 말이스.
And so this is easy to understand. And we all have those people who are our most kind of cherished loved ones, friends, family members, that we really take a great deal of comfort in their company. We rely on them a lot. Our spouses, our parents, our children, our friends, being surrounded by family, loving family member, and feeling supported by that, and they can help us. We receive a lot of help, like in during our lifetime. If we find ourselves in trouble, or we have some crisis, they can often come to the rescue. They can help us out of a difficult situation, lend us money, or just come to our aid, to our assistance, as we have experienced perhaps many times. But at the time of death, they're unable to help us like this. At the time of death, we really cannot rely on those people that we seek so much comfort in, while we're alive.
대가 나이다 즉 앞서서 가서 선모 방고야리 스테인데 갈세나 야 즉 만나 맞다 패밀리나데 즉 좋아당 지메이나데 프렌드와 수임이나야 맞다 고 마타와 레고요레 마타와 티케 most power 차디요레 틴두 맞아 가수원로 그래 틴데인두 틴에다 지 맞아 가 마조빙 올라 단다 투수 요바 와 가가 마조비 올라 맞아 투수 요베 갑라 틴에 제제를 제와 체야 와 제제다 고직 투수 냠도 땅 틴에 제제라 로과 체야 어다 틴데 계지 고 갈세고다 수도 수임비나요 그 제제 로빙리 제제를 제와 제제기 참바 오다 테네지 테네 지고 요사를 생각해서 뭐 하거나 대마도다 양 참는 가서 지 로로치 몰로로파치 제와 지고서 나오다 제를 지고라고 성교로 와 테네 제일치야 니마지 히그로 와 테네 고지 냠도 대야로 오다 테네 테네 이렇게 로로 용구요 말이스 테네 ተ소야 맞아 마타비 이렇게 하거나 더솔라야 편도 요레스.
And so, with our family members, and especially maybe in our relationships, like our spouses, our friends, uh, one of the benefits of understanding impermanence, it can be actually have a really powerful effect on the quality of our life and our relationships, because we know the inevitability of our parting from one another, that we won't always be together. And that whether for some other reason, or if not, because of death, we will be parted, and so from one another. And so therefore, we have this added incentive to really use our time well together, to care for one another, to treat each other well, to be loving to one another, to help one another, to be gentle and kind, to not fight and argue, because uh, when we don't understand, when there's not an understanding of impermanence, we can kind of easily take our time with people for granted. We become kind of complacent, and maybe we become irritable, and we don't, we forget to really cherish one another while we have this time together. Um, because one day when we die, then we will regret not having taken that, really spent our time with those that we love, really in a way that is, really virtuous and kind, and with a good and yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so this, sometimes we always like this, so we can do, maybe we can hang on your friends or whatever, help each other. I will, help each other, or I will help to them. But, so we understand impermanence, okay, who knows, so we, maybe next month, maybe someone die, so if you understand, so now it's best time to like help each other, love each other. So, and so like for instance, or couple or like living together, so whatever, as much as, possible to make friends, there is
Harmony.
tuzu kasi yun tanda hako tuzu yubi kaptela
Mhm.
teni tumbuchi go ya ke chimbuchi.
So while you have time together, it's really important to spend that time together in harmony.
Okay, so maybe read now.
So maybe the next two paragraphs, David, can you read that?
Sure. Sorry, which I lost
think
it. Thank you.
Yeah, there, the
Perfect.
comforts.
The comforts we accumulate during life, loving families, loyal friends, cherished memories, can then accompany us at the time of death. Our children cannot shield us, our parents cannot protect us, spouses, siblings, lifelong companions, all will remain behind, and our attachments to them could even bring us obstacles. None of our wealth or possessions, nor all the pleasant moments and memories we've shared while alive, will be able to provide even 5 minutes worth of benefit at the time of death.
Thank you. Keep going. Okay. So then we can.
This doing my job my boss no so.
La.
Oh yeah.
Alana, would you like to read the next two paragraphs?
When the time to die has come, there is nothing anyone or anything can do to stop it. No force in the universe can negotiate or postpone. There is nothing that will be of any benefit or use to you at that time except for the Dharma and the positive karmic seeds you've created during your lifetime. No matter how beautiful, strong, powerful, famous, rich, or learned you may have been while alive, all of it will become meaningless at the time of death.
Thank you.
Da tindu tere da nga zo re tene chi nga zo opportunity se ji yorwa. Oda ti karsana da tandara moment opportunity ta cha di yores. Ti indu nga zo da tanda tiri chi meta ba ha kowi na nga zo ngone da really we understand opportunity rawa. Ha kowi yores. Opportunity to do ha kowi rawa rejo karju. Da ta tene ko meta ha kowi mina da jema china digre jema tonen digre Mahamudra Rinpoche degree, some degree of what in the metabotic and yoris.
So when we really understand impermanence, then we are able to recognize each moment as opportunity, and we're able to make use of those opportunities, instead of, we're not as inclined to like put things off or sort of say, oh, in the future I'll help, or I'll get to it later.
Okay, sorry.
So we can, can read again. Valerie, would you like to read this last paragraph?
Excuse me. Only the Dharma will be of any assistance to you when you die. In this way, we can see that time is very precious, and we have to be very careful not to let our precious time be lost in states of carelessness, distraction, or meaningless endeavors. We should be careful not to waste even a fraction of a moment and try to always remain focused on what is truly meaningful in this life, reflecting again and again on the fact that nothing but our Dharma practice can accompany us at the time of death. We can direct our thoughts, words, and deeds in the direction of authentic Dharma.
Thank you.
Okay. So then we last one. I think we read.
Oh, okay. So we can still screen share. So then the last subcategory here is not even your own body can accompany you at the time of death. Yvonne, oh, you just got up. Would you like to read the first two paragraphs there?
Yes. As Nagarjuna has said, this life, assaulted by many harms, is impermanent, like a water bubble in the wind. Each inhalation and exhalation of breath, each time we awaken from sleep, is amazing indeed. And in the sutras, it says, this body you've endured so much hardship to sustain with food and clothing won't accompany you, but will be eaten by birds and dogs or burned by fire.
Thank you. Keep going. Okay.
Keep going. Okay, we spend so much time worrying. Okay.
I can also choose someone else. But
Okay.
Lakey, you want to do the next two?
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
We spend so much time worrying about our body while we are alive. We're so attentive to its every need and careful to protect it from even the slightest discomfort. As soon as it's even a little cold, we turn on the heat. As soon as it's even the slightest bit hot, we turn on the air conditioning. One more. We spend all sorts of money to dress our bodies in nice, expensive clothing. We buy all sorts of fancy medicines and supplements. We're so concerned to feed it only the best foods. For many, as we age, we spend time looking in the mirror, worried about sagging skin and wrinkles. We buy expensive face creams, hoping to turn back the clock or maybe even have surgical procedures done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Intati ko nga so tindi chia yo maris lagu yo martina no metra kasi chibi na ya ko nga chi ta mashia na wo jig na jig mashia tapte nga so tonya yo maris.
So it isn't that, we should neglect the body or that we don't need to, or that there's something wrong with looking after the body or doing what we need to take care. But we really have to be aware that, there's no way to prevent this, death, that eventually we will die and we will leave this body behind.
So next.
So then we can do the next two paragraphs. Richard, would you like to read, or Ricardo? With we easily become worried. I think you're muted, actually. Oh, it's okay. Maybe Brittany, you want to read it? Or because or Ricardo, you can unmute if you.
Okay.
Hello, Virginia. It's Ricardo. Ricardo doesn't speak English.
Oh,
so-
sorry. Okay.
but I'm gonna read it for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We easily become worried and paranoid
There's an echo.
about our health. We feel the slightest heat of and some unexpected thing and become very anxious, seeking out all sorts of medical advice and freedom. Something serious could be wrong. We do special practices, wearing protection cords and amulets, and try to ward off any misfortune or illness in whatever we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Some even buy weapons and fancy alarms for protections that when the time of death comes, even a bulletproof lens or weapon will not be able to stave it off. When it is time to die, there will be nowhere to run and no place to escape to.
Thank you. Brittany, you want to read this last paragraph?
In this way, we can see that the time it is
I think you muted yourself, Ricardo. Oh.
I'm sorry. In this way, we can see that the time it is very precious, and we have to be very careful that our precious time be lost in a state of carelessness, distraction, or meaningless endeavors. We should be careful not to waste even a fraction of a moment and try to always remain on what is truly meaningful in life, reflecting again and again on the fact that nothing but our Dharma practice can be accompanying us at the time of our death. We can direct our thoughts, words, and deeds in the direction of authentic Dharma.
Thank you.
Thank you. 我的点的两个字的老新不嘞，点的大做开始那个张个字的这个开始就还有了哇提起的呢，搞到的
So this concludes this section. And we have a couple of questions that were left over from last Sunday, so we can address those that were in the chat. So the first one is from Javier. Oops. He says, respectfully, I would like to know what a master like you with so many accomplishments does to take care of the body that supports him. Tini chirang dawo tena de lama chimbo tena pe de tokpa chimbo chin chirang de lu la take care cheyaki tapshi gari chegyo.
다 뒤로와 가서 디 개체효되다 단나 fonction 나 이래 가서 저 체효디 다 가서 라마 첨부게 제요 말에서 가서 상말라 지 대환도구요레스 디인도 드네 디게 고 대원민도 야게 먼저 대환도구요레스 대화 이나야 고지 다 대화 토마토야 오케이 강의 디 지요리스 티 강의데 다 조카지나 가서 유리오비 뇽비 넘버 더 바트 차디 요리스 오다 티인도 아직 강의나데 간디나요 가서 단담마 타와서 뭐 땅에 고 텔레지 쇼지게 베랑이 톱데 원도 데마만지와 티닌도 오지 요위나 티네 리셈 코로니 베 인터커넥티드와 티네 셈트 로롱로 요나 수고트 팽귀지레스
So mainly he said in this doesn't it's like actually kind of the same, we're all in the same boat. So he said we all want to be happy, we all don't want to suffer. And that which is the cause of all of our difficulty and hardship are the afflictive emotions. And so when we recognize the difficulty of the afflictive emotions together, with recognition of impermanence, and we no longer have such strong fixation or clinging to things as truly existent, then we, as we can kind of like see the impermanence in all things and let go of the afflictive emotions as they arise, and we have less fixation and attachment, then the mind,
understanding impermanence.
yeah, understanding impermanence. Wait, what got it? Okay, so by understanding impermanence, then there's naturally less fixation to true existence, and the mind becomes relaxed. And since the body and the mind are interconnected, when the mind is at ease, then the body is also healthier or in better shape, or there's benefit to the mind, then there's benefit to the body. Okay, so then the next question is, did you say that impermanence is integrated through meditation and contemplation? Are there meditations on impermanence? Tini mitakpa Jula chia kichidu gomgya gogareve gomba dang samba ladrawa yorwa. Dini mixel gomya yorbe, then mixel ki gomche yorbe de mitaba.
Rita metawa teta tu kazana ngatu ri gom grwa ina yang tanda ha koya di understanding rewa metawa imba pena cha hya ina tanda tanga za be hansa ke be detail mambo yoro example mambo yore tiendu ta ti indu tini ta zo tela understanding te re sama metawa tela te ha koya te ke chimbo res tini ha kona ta metawa ke tindi je ke yang ha kowa zamji metawa ju jeng marwa Temachi di tini tik metawa re zon yang chia da gombarwa kumri juya. Ina temato tambo gong yang metawa re chik do chik dunya yusamaris akuru yusarwa.
So yes, there are meditations on impermanence, which is essentially, like they are meditations that are based on contemplation. So precisely these contemplations that we're doing, but the most important thing is understanding, and the understanding comes through this reflection, through these reflections, through these contemplations. And then so understanding is really important. And then when the understanding is there, you don't just leave it at the understanding, but then there's kind of reflecting again and again, or meditating. We meditate on this truth of impermanence based on this understanding that has arisen from the contemplations, and we do it again and again because just understanding won't cause it to really deeply be born in the mind stream, but we have to meditate, we have to contemplate, we have to reflect again and again.
Mendo.
So it looks like there are also a couple of or there's one in the chat from Anne from today. Can meditation be an antidote or stabilizing effort against impermanence? I'm not sure I understand that.
Meditation ke?
I don't think I understand that. I'm sorry. Can meditation be an antidote or stabilizing effort against impermanence?
Yes. If I could clarify the question, can you hear me?
Sure, yeah,
Yes,
I am.
Yes, hello, Drupon.
Hello.
Yes. I meant it in the sense that during meditation, impermanence still is present, which is the challenge to meditation, because the mind wants to slip back from state of calm to being busy. So I don't know how to say this. It seems as though impermanence would detract or make meditation more difficult. So I feel like there are two countervailing forces. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
저랑 된다 코마 송에 드닝가 한사야 코요 뭐라 얘네양 바저 딜라기로와 가저 something 라네나 팅이진 라네나 드네티 너네 양 템포 조고 삼기로와 얘네양 메타바 이나 드네티 템포 양시라 네 투기 말와 가인스나 된다 쿠셈보네 남도 양찰라 투그로와 드니 양 눈이치니 곰세야디 메타바당 바제도 자기 오마르에
어디 그 야보레 스터디 하고.
That's a good question.
Tini tati tanda gom jab di bi kablas. Tini metadi somewhere yo maris. Reason ta karsana nga tu di lazy nyamle majiwa gom majang khela. Tini nga tu di metawa ju je yo marwa. Tini metawa ju mache tu ta metawa yang yang tu kumdu. Wa ta metadi sha tu tu ju jung mendo zana tini chu chi yorwa. 이내 양 아주 추치 대비 qabla 나 추치거로 하고래 메타와 하고래 아주 희귀와 하고네 추치거레스 티갑라 메타도 공도야 요 말이스.
But the lagio mare, I think the mitaba demba de la young denda de gomla barcheto gainsena denda de mitaba samotang yagi korla lagio mare ini yang mitaba gi rangshin denda de nune gom tembo mayongya ki barcheto ozoga mendue.
그거 소마로 커서.
Maybe indicate la kapikabo. So, I think he understood it a little bit differently from how I did, but so this is his answer to what you said. He said, if you're, like when meditating, you don't, like when you're just meditating, you don't want to think about impermanence. Actually, it is,
다 가르치는 것도 메타와 티케 추 매진케나 추치약 괜히 빨리 부여래 서와.
So impermanence is like what spurs, so the understanding of impermanence is what spurs somebody who doesn't really practice Dharma to then practice the Dharma. So somebody who doesn't really put a lot of effort into meditation or is kind of lazy or puts it off, and is not really very diligent in creating that stability of meditative absorption, it's because they don't understand the truth of impermanence. So when the understanding of impermanence is arisen, then it becomes the inspiration to really practice Dharma. But I don't know if that is what you were getting at. And I understood it more that you were saying sort of, does the truth of impermanence actually kind of present a challenge or an obstacle to meditation? Is that,
Yes, that is what I try to express.
Dini de mitaka ge rangshin de gom yaya la tes barchedo zogyo mareve gayan sena de gom seya de tempo zogo samgyorowa. Yini yang sangma metapa yina dini tempo zoyayo marawa.
말이 곰 땜보 차나? 대가 저 곰 땜보 차기나? 곰 땜보 차서야 이도와. 되게 very important. 오케이. 곰 땜보 차서는 다른 가서 샘고 통고 그러와. 하고서
Dini de yang
샘
metapa
no 샘고 통수나 beyond 메타라와. 가서 related level the 메타라 메타발라 고리. 이나 야티 ultimate level 메타바스 요마와.
So, so actually, no, because where there might be impermanent, of course, there is impermanence as you're developing meditation, and that, maybe because it takes time to develop stability. But what that stability is really directed to is to realize the true nature of mind, or the point of developing stability in meditation is to understand or to realize the true nature of awareness. And that true nature of awareness transcends the truth of impermanence, because impermanence is on the relative level. But the true nature of awareness is on the ultimate level. And so that actually transcends impermanence. And that's what the developing the stability is it eventually evolves into that, and it can, yeah.
So this the tametake, didn't Yulin de what is?
It's beyond the extremes, or sort of it's beyond the designations of impermanence or permanent.
Of course, we relate a level. Yes, we're talking about a lot of these things.
Okay, so we have some other. So then Yvonne says, I would like to know, please, if we are going to practice POA. When?
China tene re nga so pa maung bala tene schedule so chogres in tana hakong marwa.
Well, we don't have anything planned yet, but definitely we can put it on the schedule. We can have a POA event in the future.
Tene tega na ji kita nga tunge ma lab yours contact gele China power retreat low.
And actually, he said, he was thinking that maybe the next retreat he would like to have in Kentucky. He was thinking maybe to do a POA retreat there.
And also, that is complicated. De la power, power to
Or if you want to come to Nepal.
No, not complicated.
Yeah. No, he said it's a little complicated, but His Holiness is actually doing POA on the final days of the event here. The
problem is maybe there is possible.
It might be online.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys are gonna plan it in Kentucky or here, will be great to know in advance so we can plan with work.
Sure.
Please.
Okay.
Okay.
So then, me pareció entender que al momento de la muerte tendremos que afrontar esa experiencia en solitario nuestros seres amados.
Está traducido abajo.
Oh, okay. Gracias. Where? I seem to understand. Okay. I seem to understand that the moment of death, at the moment of death, we will have to face that experience alone. Our loved ones will not be able to help us, nor will we help them at the time of their death. So what role do the prayers and other practices we usually do to benefit those who are gone during the 49 days after their death? Dini de ngazo gayang pena ngazo ge ninse ngazo la gayang pento tugiu mare de shiwe dula. Tini nga zo yang de me shiken yuna kongso shira pento tukyu mare. Tini nga zo monla mambo gyaya la sopa gi pento gare yore, jimsen gare yore.
That be 항상 노르와. 나도 대 펜토그 말이 라고요 말이스. 이는 가서 희야라 마히야 치토 말이 라고요와. 데리사.
So this is a big misunderstanding. Maybe it should have been considered in how we wrote it before, but so it isn't that people can't benefit us, because they can benefit us with their practice and prayers, but they can't benefit.
No, they can't stop.
They can't stop death. Is that they can't prevent death from happening, or they can't benefit us, through otherworldly means, or in the way that we, usually might rely on them.
데니티네 레이스 펜토그레스 가서다 몰람 자야요 레이스. 오다 다르다 코나하로 고도 파도 나라 호티네 시나리 카디모나게나 팽요레스 몰람 자야요레스.
But definitely there's benefit, when loved ones, surround somebody who's dying and they direct their minds toward practice, and they recite prayers, and they really and for all the 49 days that are, that the person's in the bardo, there can be tremendous benefit to the person who has died. So then the last question is, I seem to understand that at the moment of death, oh no, that's the same thing. Yeah, okay.
네 가장 랭켄진도 라마서이. 예. 인포메이션 티올라고.
Oh, right, but the data share takeover you
일치는.
제가 저와 응아서 동고 트랙 제가 유나야 그러와.
So do you have some more questions? Or
Can I ask a question?
yes. Yes.
Thank you. So I was chopping vegetables the other day, and I cut my finger very deeply, and I looked down, and my body just had all of these sensations, and I felt like I was almost going to pass out. It was a very small cut, but I was trying to stay present with all of the sensations in the body, and it was, very overwhelming just on a physical level. And it made me think about just this very small cut in the finger. If that's the way the body responds, then what is it going to be like when I die? At the very best, I might be laying down, everything dissolves, and what would that even be like? At the very worst, some kind of gruesome accident, and everything is just completely overwhelming. So it made me reflect on just how sort of deep the ignorance is of whatever that reality might be, that experience. But it also made me wonder, for a practitioner that has really developed stability of mind and some level of wisdom about that transition, I don't know, could you speak a little bit to that? Does that make sense?
Yes, this 현황로 요리 희그리
근데 간데이나 저 삼기요라와 신앙도 요즘에 이내양대 페나가시 양 된다 낭심배 한사야 슈침보요나 드니 페나가시 양배 닌가 침보체 기네 소체 중나 드니 양배 제와 침보도이나 야 간데 용사레 양나 드니 이네 양대 냠네 체킹 공소셈 누네 템보요나 드니 공소 냠용 카카체 요나 라고 삼요
리 저랑라 어떻게 나기리스 티엔디티니 베타카가 요레스 와
So yeah, absolutely. That question about if somebody who's a really developed practitioner who has a very stable mind, they would experience pain in a very different way.
Tene da different karila wina, tene da nga yela pe, chik nyamle maji wina, tene chik tala shiwek ko, chik body korang la da, nag yore, hig yorwa. Teza mazi be ki tene, sem ke tengla ngamtra, hiya kandoba mewa, da ko panic, tene yungu yosare is. Yina yang da, chik nga su nyamle chingke ngol samlo tawina, yang hindogu yo na, yang ko hindogu yo ha kugu yore, Imine yang koji hiwi nekab la tene, except chi, tene, lolo chi, tene, tamata na nga zo, chi tene ko gomra ujana tene, tene hindonga tene dowa siyoris.
So, you know, for somebody who is not that developed in their practice at the time of death, there's like the physical experience that sort of signifies this transition into death, and that the experience, the overwhelming experience of that then triggers a lot of panic and fear in the mind for some people, you know, because then they realize they're dying and there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of like resistance and grasping to life. But for somebody who is a really developed practitioner, then the mind is completely stable. So at the time that these signs start to occur, there's complete acceptance and the mind is completely open and relaxed. And so you have all these stories of great practitioners who die in states of meditation, where, you know, it's really like they just sort of cross over in their meditation.
Oda tene je chi tobina tene ko da hiya tela udwa, nga zo te songre mlari pe ki tene, hig yo maris, sanji yo res la udwa.
So in fact, then it's not even really death. Like for Milarepa, for instance, he said there's no such thing as death. His experience of death was his enlightenment, you know, or he just completely became a Buddha.
Yes. I remember, you know, before being told, well, also you were talking, you know, in the previous classes about, you know, the precious human life, and then now that impermanence, and it's like, but we spend all this time working, right? In that's part of the teachings, and those are things that we need to do, you know, to take care of our family and ourselves, right? Our responsibilities. So it seems like we had a lot of distractions, right? That we cannot take our mind away from. And I remember that once I was told that the good teaching, you know, to keep our mind focused in our everyday responsibilities and still direct our mind toward Dharma was Lojong. And I received teachings on the 8 verses, but I still, you know, I read them and they seem like so simple, but at the same time, I don't think I'm internalizing them. So I guess how do we connect the two, the Lojong teachings to our sense of motivation, because we know that everything is changing? How do we connect that?
Rita ti bono karsagdi, impermanence la lojong te making
Mare de lojong chitang tenda lojong yang tapar logyo yore de sholobaje de so yang yena yang de nune tenda sim jula yang shira chegyu marawa penarangi nyamnyong dang nune de yang dawa zoya lojong de la dawa zoya ge tapshi gare yore.
다 데려와 가서 단다 데리 스틱바라와스 총라와 나이리 다 가서 줄제 알아다 가정배나 인조니가 원로 몽볼랍데 거래 메타바노 몽볼랍데 거래 그 인디티네 다 더서 라비나 양 단단한 줄제 아디스 가보여와 대가 나이다 로종라고 인비나 양 로종도 로그요리 하코기요리 이나 양고 지 Julie Jessia de Colansanji, Jerry Mares, Tenditini, Taporum Songwa, Gomba Mai, Combayin, Songwa, Tenditini, Yinayan, Koji, Kumdichone, Yang the Yang Chivina, a candy jam belong to Jegres, in that Choran Yaksho Karsina ko. Nyamne Jayate, Kechemo, huge rihas. The Chivina ko Tananga to feel. Resort benefit o dodging the marism just the yoris.
So it's the same, you know, with all of these things like impermanence, the four thoughts, precious human life, lojong, you know, it is, we can really reflect on them a lot, but to really have them arise, you know, deeply in our mind stream is maybe not so easy. And it doesn't happen just quickly, you know, or with little effort. And for that reason, you know, that's why it takes like really intensive training and contemplation and reflection and meditating again and again. That's why Gampopa says, you know, it's not so much meditation as it is habituation. And this is in Tibetan, it's a play on words. So gomba mayin, kombayin, which is basically like very similar word, just like slightly different spelling, meaning meditation and habituation are the same thing. It's basically the same word. And so it isn't meditation as much as what meditation is habituation. So we're habituating the mind, you know, through reflecting again and again and again. And then eventually, you know, it goes deeper and deeper, and eventually there's some real insight that will arise. And you know, you're on the right track, and you have the right attitude, you know, that how important it is to practice. And we also have to understand that, you know, as we practice, there's not going to be like some really concrete thing that we get from it. But there are, you know, if we pay attention, we see the differences, we see how things are developing.
Thank you.
Quick, one last question. Thank you both for doing this. I'm sure it's late in Nepal, so thanks for spending time with us. So one of the questions is, through this section, we clearly are focusing on impermanence and then our own death, and that is sort of a way of catalyzing energy and devotion to the practice. But those who have not necessarily done all the work and didn't understand the teachings of the practice, and then they get to their own death, is there anything that Drupon would sort of suggest of how to talk with those individuals as they sort of face their own mortality?
So pena tena de young pena nangba yana dene nyamlin chicken yana dene young pena nyamlin chaya yore dene rangi young depa dang nyamlin la tsowo den tenya yore yine young kong young mi chicken yamdu lega lega yore dene young kongso pena nangba making nyamlin shada making kongso young te shiwe gidula pinto yagi lavia che yorebe consola gare la fogre.
Ta labia mixe yo mari ina ya. Ta lamna ko nya kaborwa. Ina mixe yo maris.
No conso de shia pinto yagi chidu. Conso shi we dula. Ni conso gande pinto ko tu gare.
Tini metu mamba mari la ko
Re.
Oda ti yendu che ta nga tsu ta molam jaya re, tega na ye ke chi zo che hyo de ko nga tsu chik zewa rawa. Tini chi na chik me tu su la ko korang ke semt di sa lowo ro tini yung gres. Tega na ye ke yang ko inchi mini nangba chi ina ya chik hesa na ya uyung ya tang nangba ma yin na ma yung wa tini yo ma res. Nga xin nangba menbi ina yang korang chik chamba tang rang yi ke sambo tani yung bioris. 공소양 대바요레스 계속 팽거요레스 테니다 양 직 depends-로 주로 강한 대바요나요 텔레콤소 직 remember 제가 희랭가 제가 계시 모이사레스.
So, well, our own prayers can definitely benefit them, and like really having a loving, having love for them, and also helping them to be at ease, helping their mind to be relaxed. And they don't, it's not like they have to be Buddhist, in order to like die well or to experience a good death. In fact, whatever their religion is, if they, you can encourage them to have faith in their objects of refuge, and to have to die in a virtuous mind state, with good thoughts, with love in their hearts. So the main thing really is to help them be at ease, to help their minds be at peace, to be relaxed, and to, have positive qualities present as they die.
테니다 제타 테니 파도 그 teaching 테니 요레스 직 파도 시두 강의 요미테 직 moment 희랭가라 테니 직 참바도 아니 이제 셈로로 요나 테니 파도 참말라 직 야보요와다 직 희랭가라 거랑감다 라고나 대가나 이 직다 차당로보다 현황로 요나 테니 파도 나라야 티고 캐링 지구여서라와 디스칼리 용기가 스테인이다 그 모멘트 이제 희빈이 아까부터 as much as possible 답이 요나 야고여서레스.
So actually, the moment of death itself is so important in terms of, how the consciousness is directed after death. It says this in the Bardo teachings that, so that's why, you really want to help somebody to have a good death so that they're not like stricken with concerns or worries or negative emotions, that they're with, that they are kind of with problem free, and in a peaceful mind state. Because if somebody is in a peaceful, loving mind state at that moment when they die, then that will affect the trajectory of the bardo entirely. Whereas, if, for instance, at the moment of death, someone becomes like really terrified, or they have really strong attachment and aversion, very strong negative emotions, and that will also adversely affect the trajectory of the consciousness through the bardo. So that moment of death, that time period of death, is very crucial.
Thank you.
Okay, so then perhaps we can conclude here with the dedication prayers. By the virtues collected in the three times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Drupon Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Drupon, Virginia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toshida.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Lovely to see you all.
Thank you, Thinley.
Fantastic.